Hey there, delightful makers. I have a question for you. Do you buy fabric when you travel? I traveled to Delaware about a little over a year ago, and I went to this cute little quilt shop called Cut and Ship Quilt Shop, and I purchased this mystery bag. These are just random cuts of fabric that they just put together into a little bag. Now, typically when I buy fabric, when I travel, I try to find a fabric that kind of matches the theme of the place I'm traveling, or fabric that is unique to that area. For example, when I went to Hilton Head, I purchased fabric that was ocean themed. And this time I thought it would be fun to get this mystery bag. And I have never opened this mystery bag in the year or so that I have had it. And I thought it would be fun to challenge myself to make a collage quilt using only the fabrics from this mystery bag. So I'm going to be making the birdhouse, and the challenge is that I can only use fabrics from the bag, but I don't have to use all of the fabrics. Because this is a smaller collage, I won't need a lot of fabric, but hopefully there are some good blenders to build the house and some flowers that I can play with and decorate with. But if not, we're gonna make this fabric somehow work for this pattern. So let's get started and see how this works. All right, so I have had this bag for a little over a year. I went to Delaware in April of 2025, and I have never looked in this bag. So this bag has sat in my craft room just like this for a long time. It was hanging, and I don't know what's in it. So you are going to be looking in this bag for the first time with me. So let's see what we've got. All right, and it looks like Dolly has decided to join us. Okay, so it's in this cute little plastic bag. So let's look in here and see what we have. Ooh, I already see some flowers. That's exciting. Okay. All right, so there is a lot of fabric in this little mystery bag. And hopefully there's something big enough that I can maybe use for this house. If not, we're gonna have to try to put this house together some way. Okay, so I don't know if we're gonna go through all this. Let's just kind of flip through and see what we have. So we need to use only this fabric on this house. And again, we don't have to use all of this fabric. Like, look at all of those fun different options. But we can use only this fabric. So let's see what we have. Now I'm just building the house, obviously, because these are all smaller cuts. Like, it looks like the biggest one is maybe about 4.5 to 5 inches. I'm going to allow myself to use something different for the background. We'll see. Okay, so let's see what we have. Christmas, maybe not. Ooh, some tire tracks. I do see a lot of purples in here, which I don't work with very much. Got some flowers. Eyeballs right there. If anybody ever needs eyeballs, they're everywhere. Let's see. I'm going to have to cobble something together to be the base of the house, because none of these fabrics are quite big enough. Like, that is just a smidge too small. And that's one of the whitest ones. All right, there's a lot of these purples. I'm wondering if we can play with that a little bit. Ooh. Do you think I should put some lemons on my birdhouse? That might be fun. This one might work. It's just big enough to mostly be the size of the house. But there's also this piece. I could put them together. There are two pieces that are similar. And then, ooh, there's a bird. I wonder if there's a way I can play with that bird. All right, so we have the bird. These little construction ones are not going to be helpful. I can't really see that one. That's some seashells that are white on white. A lot of these gingham. Dragonflies might be fun to add. I'm pulling out all these purples that I'm seeing because I think they might be pretty for the actual birdhouse. This might be a good one for the stick. There's some clouds that I could use for the background. There's a lot of this one. Let's see. There's another one of this one. So if I want to use this for the house, but I know that my background needs to be kind of a sky, so we might save that for the background. All right, so here is my fabric pull for this little birdhouse using that mystery bag of fabrics. And what I think I'm going to do in order to make this a legitimate challenge where I can only use the fabrics from the bag, I'm going to also collage the background. So usually with these mini collages, they are really small and I just put them onto a single piece of fabric for the background. But in this case, I'm actually going to also collage my background like I do with my larger collages. So these are the fabrics I've pulled for the house. This will be the birdhouse fabric. These are the accents, and this part will be for this doorway. I'm going to go ahead and do some of this brown to be this little stick, but I may use the black instead. We'll see how that looks. Now, with this pattern, you can choose to use blenders to make these fun decorative elements. Like you could just find a pretty pink or peach or purple, whatever color fabric to make the flower. But I'm actually going to go ahead and just use some motifs. And I have a lot of fabric choices for the motifs here. I have these flowers. I'm going to probably pull some of these. I'm going to see which ones I like the best. So these are the ones I'm going to go ahead and fuse to be my motifs. The little dragonfly will probably go somewhere on the background. And then I also have this bird, and then I have all these flowers I can play with. So these will be my motifs on the birdhouse and around the background. And then these will be my background fabrics. So I have all these blues that kind of match. This gray, maybe not so much. It's just a possibility. And then I have like these clouds that I'll throw in there. So these are some options for the background fabrics. Mainly this grouping. And then if I feel like I need more, I might use these two. These two are kind of outliers. We'll see if those get put in there. But these are all the fabrics I'm going to fuse. And then I will make my birdhouse with just the fabrics from my mystery bag. Now I do have a whole stack here. These are all the fabrics that I did not use. They didn't match the colorway I was working with, but they will definitely go into my scrap bins, and there are a lot of great motifs in these. In fact, you might see these fall ones with my fall project when I do the October collage. You might find these in there. And then I really love these little lemons, so we're going to come up with something for those at some point. But these are the fabrics that I did not use. So it did not use all the fabrics in my scrap bag, but only fabrics from the scrap bag. Let's see what we can make. I will get these fused to the steam machine too, and then I will make the birdhouse and I'll show you how that looks, and then I will make the background and show you how that looks. All right, so let's see what it looks like when I start putting it together. All right, so here's the pattern, and here is my very fancy birdhouse. I used this purple with these giant flowers to be the base of the birdhouse. It was not quite wide enough. So here is where I added, you can see right there, that's where I added that extra piece. And then I used these little waves to kind of hide that seam. And then this wave over here to just duplicate and kind of mimic that wave, because in the original pattern I did have these little vines. Then I did use some of these little flowers here and here. This was the fabric that had the waves in it, so I just cut some of those waves out. I did not end up using this brown. You can see where I cut it out. I tried it there and it just looked weird and awkward, so instead I used this paisley from this fabric. So that's where that is, because I was like, that is kind of a fancy little perch for the birdies. Some of the other flowers came from this fabric, and a lot of them came from this fabric. This had some great flowers in it that I was able to use. I used a little bit of this purple here, and then of course, like I mentioned, I used this black here to be that. Now I have cut out some extra motifs that I will probably be using in my final project as background flowers. We'll see. And I'm really excited that my mystery bag included a bird. Now it's not the whole bird. He's missing kind of his wings here, so he will be on the edge of the quilt. So that is where the binding will go, and you won't even know that he's not a complete bird. He'll just look like he's coming off from the side. So that's kind of the nice thing about collage, is even if you don't have the entire motif, like even here with this flower, I'll be able to kind of either put this at the top so it'll look like a branch coming over it, or I could put it on the side. Even this flower was not complete. Like, see right there, it was cut off a little bit, but I was able to kind of tuck it under there, and it just matches that one perfectly, and you can't tell that it was cut off. It just looks like it's part of the design. So, oh, and these parts here were cut from this fabric. Now this is actually a little bit wider than the pattern, because I wanted to get those little, in quilting we call those orange peels. I wanted to get those little orange peels in there. So I'm going to press this, and then I will place it on some pattern ease, or it can be placed on a one-sided fusible, and then I will build the background, and then I will show you how it looks with the background. But this is my birdhouse using these fabrics, which are the fabrics that were in that bundle. So far so good. I've been able to create something using only fabrics from that mystery bag. All right, so I have fused my birdhouse together. It is actually all one big piece now, so nothing will shift or move while I add the background. And I have it on pattern ease. Pattern ease is usually used with garment making. They trace the patterns onto this and then use this to cut out their fabric. So it is basically a lightweight stabilizer. It does not have any fusible to it. It's just a stabilizer. And I'm really just using it to be my background. It's my base to add my background to. So I have my background pieces here, and I am going to just place and kind of add them around the birdhouse. So the birdhouse will be its own thing. I'm not putting the background directly behind it. I'm actually going to build around it. And then I will add my motifs, like my flowers and my birds, and I have to cut out some of these little dragonflies. All right, so let me build the background and I'll show you how that looks, and then we will finish this up. All right, so I have added the background, and I've done a couple of things. One, I followed the line of the clouds here and the line of the flowers here to kind of smooth those edges, but I do have a few harsh edges here and here. One thing that I plan to do is cut out some of these clouds and help branch those clouds over into this part. But I also have my motifs, and again, I think this one's going to come from the top. So like that is going to cover that harsh line. This little bird is going to probably go about right here, and he'll mostly cover those lines. So one thing I do have to keep in mind is that I don't want to go too far to the edge because I will have a binding on this. So I will want to, like these flowers are kind of small, I may bump them in just a little bit. And that's why him sticking out like this will be fine, because the binding will be about 1/4 inch there. So I'll be able to hide that behind the binding. So it'll look a little weird until I do the binding, but that's the plan. So I have my birdhouse on here, I have my background going, and now I just have to add the motifs to soften some of those edges so that the background isn't quite so harsh. All right, so here is the finished birdhouse. I have added my motifs. So I have my bird and my little dragonfly. I took these flowers across to just kind of blend in there. I took a couple of these clouds and put them over here on this side. Then I added all of these flowers at the top, so it kind of looks like the birdhouse is, I don't know, in a tree of bushes, or maybe there's bushes above it, but it's floating somehow. Who knows? But this was made with only fabrics from the Cut and Ship mystery bag. And I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. I'm not normally a person who uses purple very often. Sorry, all of my purple lovers, but I love these bright purples, and I'm really excited that I ended up with a bird in that fabric mystery bundle and even this little dragonfly. So next step will be to steam it and then quilt it, and it will be done. But here we go. A collage quilt made entirely from mystery fabrics. All right, so here is the birdhouse quilt all finished. It finishes at 10 by 10, and other than the binding and the backing, I was able to use nothing but the fabrics that were in the mystery bag from Cut and Ship Quilts. So this was a fun challenge to use fabrics that I purchased while traveling. So the next time you are traveling and you purchase fabrics, See if you can challenge yourself to make a collage quilt with those fabrics. It was really interesting to figure out how I was going to make this work. I am not normally a purple person. Sorry to all of my people who love purple, but I really love how this turned out. I love the purple and the blue. I got really lucky that there was a bird included in that mystery bag and the dragonfly. It's almost like that bag was made for a birdhouse, even though I had no idea what was in that bag before I opened it. I knew I was going to make a birdhouse because the birdhouse is just generic enough that it could have worked with almost any fabric. So the next time you purchase fabric on a trip, make a collage with it. It's a really fun way to commemorate your journey. So I now have this fun little birdhouse made from my Delaware fabric. Now it's your turn. Go make something beautiful.